All right, episode 14.
14.
Let's go. So, some cool things about episode 14. Really brutal metal, okay? So I'm just going to lay that out there. This shit is fucking brutal. But, got some new Old Elk here.
Dude.
New Old Elk.
That's fun.
The only Old Elk that I've had was when we bought the bottle to go see Morbid.
Which was an amazing
bottle.
bottle.
A really good. We drank the whole thing, right?
We drank the whole thing. And then I have a bottle at home. And then, so my wife and I went to a whiskey bar in Charleston the other day.
Wow.
And I spent $48 on a pour of Stag, which is a Buffalo Trace product. And that was my budget, as I knew I was going to buy that one, but I wanted to have a couple others. I had a Jack 12, which was really good. And at the end of the night, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have one more pour, and I chose this.
Infinity Blend.
Infinity Blend. So, Infinity Blends are actually something you can do at home, and it's basically where
that's the shit you do with your decanter,
when you
right?
mix stuff in the decanter. So, this blend, Old Elk Distilleries in Fort Collins, Colorado. I lived there for 6 years. Love that town. This is a 60% blend of 6-year, 51% corn, 34% malted barley, and 15% rye, which is way higher on the malted barley than you typically see. Then you have, I think it's 24% 12-year, and then what would that leave us? 16% 11-year?
11-year. And those facts are right there on the side, guys.
Undisclosed Kentucky bourbons mixed.
Undisclosed.
So you have the 6 to 12-year blend, and when they poured this for me...
That's a crazy drink, man.
I was like... Now, that was the first time I'd ever had Stag, which if anybody knows, allocated bottles, it's bullshit. Stag is a great $50, $60 bottle of bourbon. When I had this, I was like, this just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. Because
you're finding Stag for $350 on the secondary market. This was a $150 bottle, not secondary. This is worth it. This is one of the most fabulous goddamn bottles I've ever had. You mentioned...
a Kentucky hug in a couple episodes back. What is your Kentucky hug?
Well, a Kentucky hug is the definition that when you take in a good drink, you get that warm squeeze in your throat and your chest.
That shit just happened.
And that's a Kentucky hug. And
it just made like all the hair on my stand up. Like it was. That's why I was like, wow.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's high ethanol. It doesn't mean it's super high proof. And this is a pretty decent one. If I remember, it's 114.9 proof. So you've got to, it's warm. Yeah. But it's blended well. And so I'm finding that my palate is really opening up to a lot of companies that do blends. So Old Elk is playing, Barrel, Bardstown, K. Luke. You're finding a lot of these companies that are taking Found North, which I've got a bottle of that coming, which is going to be amazing, where you take these master distillers who are taking just bourbons and whiskeys from different places and then mixing them together to make this just masterful final product, and that's what this is.
Well, let's listen to some masterful final product here. A band called Bonecarver, all right, with a collab from Signs of the Swarm, and this song is called Annihilation's Creed. Fresh to my ears. Let's kick some ass.
Stank face right off the bat.
Yeah, man. Instant. Who's got it? Who's got the stank?
Tell you what, this makes me sweat like a nun in a cucumber patch.
That's a nice curb stomp right there.
Oh, man.
Ooh, I like the tempo pick up.
This whole EP... Every song has a collab, and I fucking love this whole EP.
Well, I think it's cool. Like I'm sort of seeing like a little. I don't want to call it a trend, but there's a lot of bands that are doing that. It's just getting some just random collabs coming out.
Yeah.
Do you think that's pandemic talk?
I mean, we're in a digital era where you could be in different parts of the world and do your part.
That is brutal.
Fuck.
Holy shit.
What I like about it is, you and I both grew up in the time frame where we, whether you liked it or not, rap.
Yeah.
they had, you always had an artist featured in a new song. And I think that metal's doing that now, and I love it.
I think that's really cool, yeah. I've like I said, I've noticed in a couple things that whole Doth record was collab, this is collab. Like, I've noticed it a lot, and I think it's cool too, man. Like, I don't hate it at all. Like, back in the day, it was always just purist,
right.
Whatever the band is, that's what you get, and which was fine, but it's interesting to have these different kind of ideas come about, especially when it's members of bands that you like outside of each other,
Right.
What can they do together?
Absolutely. And then if they get the chance to tour together, then you get to see them on stage together.
This part is insane. That's such deep, like, bass. Like, if you had that on a system, it'd be breaking windshields.
It would. It put that person with the rap speakers out of business because it's just consistent,
brutal,
hard.
Dude. There's sweetness in this.
A lot of it. And I think that's the malted barley because typically you're going to find that rye is your spice, but malted barley plays a lot of sweet, and this is the highest malted barley bourbon blend that I've run across. Because 51% corn is the cutoff for a bourbon. So it hit that right at the cutoff for that 60% portion.
As low as they're tuned, like, this is super clear, like, a lot of clarity going on.
Well, and Signs of the Swarm is probably one of my favorite deathcore bands.
I think I've heard a couple tracks you've sent me. Yeah.
Well, you're the one who actually introduced me to them originally when they came off the Nameless album.
Yeah.
With Death Whistle, Death Whistle's probably in my top 5 deathcore songs ever. And then I branched out.
You went way into the deathcore world.
I've dived deep, and I'd say that.
I mean, you were there before I, sent you stuff.
Right. I think Whitechapel kind of pulled me in, and then it's just been.
Yeah.
I like the slow, how it just beats the shit out of you, and then it just slows down and makes you just. I like a heavy ass whole note.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Me too.
So,
this band, dude.
You sent me this a couple weeks back, and I mean, it just blew my mind, dude.
Yeah.
And when Tiffany sent me a message one day, she's like, "Hey, I got to make this PowerPoint for Adam," which was killer, by the way.
It was killer.
Tiffany's my wife, and she said, what's some of the bands? This is the first one that popped in my head for some reason. I was like, put Organectomy on there. So we're gonna listen to Organectomy, Corpse Throat. That sounded like shit. Killer band, guys. If you haven't heard of Organectomy, go. This is the kind of band I would hope shows up at, like, the Loud in Huntington.
Dude, that would be such a great venue for them to be.
Because they're so relatively unknown, and it wouldn't be packed. You could just enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, not for them. I'm sure they would like to be more well-known, but, I mean, they'll get there because they're putting out quality product.
They are putting out some great stuff, and the last 2 songs they put out were just singles. This was one of them. I think they have 2 or 3 albums. They have a great instrumental called Ulcerborn that's just, I mean,
that
just
is
highlights their greatness.
Singles is the trend in music these days.
It is.
So a single out there.
Everything is digital.
Everything's digital. It keeps people's interest. There's, everybody knows that, something that's too long, it's hard to keep people's interest in it.
Right.
It's easy and really easy to go jump to the next song. And the funny thing is, I didn't really notice that until I was riding around with the guy who used to play drums for our band. And he would play a song and be like, "Man, check this song out." 32 seconds later, he'd switch to something else. I'm like, dude, do you ever let anything play through? Like,
right.
My brain doesn't work that way. If I'm listening to something and I'm vibing, I want to ride.
Listen,
I want to ride that shit out,
right?
Man. And he was just so quick. attention span so short.
Right. TikTok.
And that's the way he loves TikTok. That's the way this shit works, man.
Yeah.
So
15, 30 seconds.
I mean, I'm from, the old school time. I love CDs and albums and all that, but I totally get it, man. And more I hear a lot of like the people that I listen to, like Ola and shit like that, and they're talking about this is the way of the future. You put out singles instead of records. I mean, maybe eventually you put a record out, but it's not doing you any good.
Right.
To work your ass off for a year in a studio when everybody only wants to listen to one or two songs from your shit.
Yeah. So I see a lot of bands now, they're putting out 3 and 4 singles, and then they put it on the album that's coming out later.
Yeah.
And then they have like 8 or 9 songs.
That kind of used to be the old school way. You'd have, if one single got popular, you drop another one. Let's say you got a record release that's 3 months away, you drop a single, it's cool. You drop another single, it's cool.
Right.
And then by the time it leads up. But I mean, I think people's just attention spans are just so short now.
Absolutely.
Myself included. I'm that way, sometimes. I listen to a lot of like informational YouTube videos and shit. There's this cat named Joe Scott I've been listening to a lot.
Okay.
Fucking love him. You should check him out. He's up your alley.
I'll check him out.
It's not really like philosophical or anything. He's a fucking nerd, and I nerd out to his nerdiness. Like, it's just great. Because it's informational. He uses facts. Although he doesn't listen to metal, so our show is automatically cooler.
It's amazing how you can propel yourself up the ladder of amazing when you just know your shit's better because you like metal.
That's right. I think he does too, though. I've heard him say a couple things here and there that
you're like
would lend credence to it. Like, you like Slayer, dude.
Right. So this is one of your kind of crossover, brutal death, slam, almost deathcore, but not quite. Just these guys fucking make me happy.
Yeah,
dude.
It's definitely, like you said, crossover style. There's elements of the deathcore, like they're dipping the toe.
Yep.
Deathcore is pretty popular, man. Like,
it is.
Slaughter to Prevail, fucking Lorna Shore is huge.
Yep.
Like, it's wild to me that something so brutal can be so popular.
TikTok. And again, going back to that conversation, when you had To the Hellfire by Lorna Shore, and he put himself on TikTok because Will Ramos knows how to market. Yeah. And he's putting himself out there. And then he did that video with the girl from Charismatic Voice where he had the scope go down and watch his vocal cords when he's doing those screams. What a way to just introduce people to the phenomenon.
Yeah, and it's really...
Dude, that song. Fuck.
Deathcore has really seemingly taken popular metal by storm, man. It's crazy.
And it's amazing, too, because I'm on Deathcore subreddit. It's amazing that the popular ones, the ones that are really doing well, Slaughter Prevail...
is Motionless in White Deathcore?
No, Motionless in White is definitely more like a newer, new metal, almost metalcore.
Okay, metalcore.
Okay. Definitely more, or prog.
Because I know they're doing like small arenas like in Charleston.
Right.
I
mean, Motionless in White, I do like their shit.
Yeah.
Definitely not deathcore.
Yeah.
They get a lot of hate.
It's like a buddy of mine, I tell you all the time, like, I got a friend who's like a big power lifter, and he listens to a lot of Slaughter Prevail and shit like that. He sent me another one of their tracks the other day, and I was like, fuck, man, these guys are ridiculously heavy. And I know they're popular.
Heavy. They are popular. They're becoming a lot. And again, so those two bands, Lorna Shore and Slaughter Prevail, get a lot of hate in the deathcore world, and I think it's that element.
It's just because they're fucking popular.
Because they're getting popular.
That's lame,
and it
dude.
just sucks because, like, some of the shit they do is cringe and all this stuff. It's like, you know what? Just stop.
If people like it, just be happy that metal is still around.
Right, and it's growing, and people are getting exposed to some new stuff. Just because you have more than 3 listeners on Spotify doesn't mean you're a sellout.
Right.
Fucking
Speaking
dicks.
of getting exposed to more new stuff, this is a band called Ingested, who also did a bunch of collab work.
This whole
fucking
album.
Crazy, dude.
Dude, these guys make me fucking happy.
And this is cool because it has one of our buddies from Chimera in it, Mark Hunter.
That's why I chose this one, because I wanted to...
Dude, Ingested, man. These guys are killed.
These guys are coming to Cleveland in October.
Nice.
With Flesh God Apocalypse.
Well, if they're going to be in Cleveland, you can bet that Mark will be there, because that's where he lives.
Okay.
They live in Strongsville, which is just outside.
So these guys are just classic slam metal.
You can guarantee, I will guarantee that Mark Hunter will be there performing with us.
Well, I want to go. It's on a Saturday. It's
Sweet.
Flesh God Apocalypse, Ingested, Shadow of Intent.
I'd say Rob would be there too.
And Disembodied Tyrant. Dude, it's going to be a fucking wild show. I'm so debating.
God, it's a nasty guitar tone. Listen to that.
Yeah. This whole album fucking tears it up.
It's so so. A lot of the bands that I'm naturally drawn to use so little gain when they record, but it's different live. They'll kick the gain up a little bit live, but they turn it down when they record. Like bands like this, they're like turn the fucking thing all the way up. Like,
yeah.
If somebody's got the gain on 5, like bro, turn that shit up.
10
all the way. Because every deathcore band we listen to on the show is like all gain. Like, there's nothing. It's awesome. I love gain. I use more gain than any of my friends. You know.
Really.
It's just right for me, man. You know. I can control it though with my hands and shit.
Right.
God, it's killer. But the bass is still cutting through. There's a lot of clarity in it.
Yeah.
And that's the common argument with too much gain is that it gets muddy. I don't hear it.
Well, I think it obviously depends on the band, how drop tune your lead and your rhythm is. And if you have an 8 or 9, 7 or 8 string.
Oh my gosh, there's 9s, there's 10s.
Oh, I'm sure now.
Probably. I saw a meme one time. Had a dude with a guitar that had like 37 strings on it. I'll put that picture up. That's funny shit.
Your fingers have to be like the Kimbe Matumbos just to be able to reach that shit.
Yeah, I think it maybe he was like this when he was fucking with it. I don't know. And then there's this cat named Stevie T on YouTube, and they decided to make the longest neck guitar in the world. So they've got just a regular body, and then they build this neck that's like 5 guitar necks long. It's just insane. That guy's pretty funny.
Looking like a string bass.
Oh, dude, it's wild. Is that Clean singing in the background? Interesting.
So I had you listen to that one song from theirs. It's the last song on the album, and they have a lot of cleans on it, and it's a stellar song. I love this whole album. I've listened to it all the way through many times. I would say for me so far this year, other than the Vitriol album, which we covered as our first episode.
Ooh, that's a banger.
This album and the Aborted album.
Oh, I love Aborted.
Probably my 2 favorite albums this year so far.
Gosh. Maybe the last episode of the year we'll talk about.
We need to do albums of the year.
There's so much. This year's been really fertile so far.
It's been great. Absolutely. Great word, for sure.
Oh, dude, that's killer.
And they've evolved, for sure. Some of their lyrics have definitely become a little bit more thought-provoking versus their song Skinned and Fucked.
See, I don't even have a fucking clue what this guy's saying. I don't care.
Vocals is an instrument. You and I have talked about that before, and it's true.
I mean, I want it to be there, but like I don't want to listen to instrumental music, but I don't care if I understand it or not.
Well, so A Path Once Lost is that song from the last song on this album, and it's... Woo! But yeah, they mix cleans. And I made a comment about that. There was a Reddit post where they were asking what... You know how you get a song stuck in your head? And they're like, what song's looping in your head right now? And I told them A Path Once Lost, and I said it's the transition when they go from the cleans to the screams in the new Ingested. And so instantly someone commented, they're like, Ingested has cleans.
Yeah, right.
Like, kind of weird, I know.
So this last track we got going on here is a band called The Last of Lucy.
Oh man, I loved when you told me when I told you about these guys. Woo! You were like, "Holy shit!"
I mean, like just to like like 10, 15 seconds into a track that you sent me, and I'm just like, my God, like who is this?
Right.
So let's check this band out. Imperial Banisher from the album Godform, The Last of Lucy. If you haven't heard of this band, guys, when I think of this band, I think of my old friend Jared. Like, Jared was always really big into finding... he's the first person I heard the Faceless with, the Acacia Strain and shit like that. He loves shit like this. If he doesn't know about this band, I might text him after this.
Well, you know who the Faceless is, right?
I mean, I know who they are, but like
3 of the 4 members is the Zenith Passage.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, those guys are wild live. I saw the Faceless live. Insanity.
I bet.
Just crazy.
But these guys remind me a lot of this Archspire, just that super fast tech death, just no fucking insane. Around. These guys get some. I love it.
I just don't understand how people write this kind of music, and I think that's what I love about it so much, because it's just incredible.
It triggers your creative brain because you are creative.
Yeah.
You are capable of writing music, but this hits a different spot.
Yeah. In no world would I ever pick up a guitar and this come out. But it just blows my mind. I think that's just what I respect about it. It's just so incredible. The level of talent that you have to be. And, some people would call it noise. My mom, this is noise, blah, blah, blah. She has no understanding of how important, like, crazy this shit is.
Well, but how many people thought that the Beatles were noise? You know what I mean? And think about, you have an instrument where everybody has the same 6, 7, or 8 strings.
Yeah.
And you get from, Pink Floyd to Elvis. We were talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan this morning.
Yeah.
All the way to shit like this. You have the same instrument.
Yeah.
And you can create such a wide range of things. It's no different than I took corn, barley, and rye, and we have, how many different flavors have we had?
Yeah, that's true.
It's just,
that is true.
Brilliant. And you have just phenomenal minds.
Which is the whole premise of Metal and Mash, by the way.
It is.
Is that there's so many different flavors, and it's all the same basic tree of life.
To the unexperienced, the person who doesn't know, everything we listened to today in the last episode, it all sounds the same. The flavor we got was all. This does not taste anything like the last bourbon, and they were both amazing.
Yep.
Oh, god damn that riff, dude.
Killer. God. Absolutely destructive. A force of destruction. The Last of Lucy, man. If you haven't heard any of their shit, go check them out right now. If you haven't watched any other episodes, go check out other episodes. This has been episode 14.
So you have 13 to catch up on, motherfucker.
Yeah, man. Episode 14, Old Elk. Go check it out. Find us at Metal and Mash on YouTube. And we'll keep drinking. Cheers. Kick some ass.
Salute.